Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's Market Color, Thursday Market Color, where we look at the commodity market and the indices market. How are we doing this morning? Of course, this session is brought to you by the Value Flow Trading Team and Olufikeji Ejimi Adegbeye, and we love to have you on this session this morning. We are glad to host you. We believe that this session will be helpful to everyone here. I believe if you're around already this morning, about 6 of us are Rize, Emmanuel, Destiny, Benga, Kolade, Peeps Don't Lie. Please do well to help us share the link of this market color to several communities you belong to and also spread the gospel that we are professing. All right, very much this morning, we'll be looking at the indices markets, US 30, US 100, S&P 500, after which my colleague will be coming up to wrap up our session with the commodity asset class, right? Commodity pair asset class, the AUD, USD, NZD, and the CAD, asset class. All right, very quickly this morning, we'll be looking at the market. We expect that we would see some level of appreciation to the upside, bullish move to the upside. Something really interesting has happened, especially from the markup we had on Tuesday, right? On Tuesday, we had a markup in the morning on Tuesday. That's the same time, 8:30, where we looked at US 30, and then we wanted some things to have happened in the markets, and truly, true to it, we've seen that happen already, right? Very beautiful rally to the upside we have on US 30. Let me start with US 30 before we now move to other pair, right? On the daily time frame, we stated very clearly that we are bullish. We are very much bullish. Interesting. Look at what how the market has pushed. So far, so good, right? We've seen every push to the upside, which is something really beautiful with what we have in terms of correlation. We stated very clearly at the beginning of last week into this week, right, that correlation analysis is most likely to play out as of last week or last week. Price was just around these zones, right? Price was just around this zone, and we're expecting that we'd see like a push up, a rally to the upside a little bit. And it's going to break structure, right? However, this is the same for US 30 and S&P 500, right? No, it's the same for US 100, that's Nasdaq and S&P 500. While on US 30, we still had a long way to go. So as at that time, we are projecting that we're going to do what? Buy either US 30 while waiting for, we're going to buy US 30 as US 100 and S&P 500 has rallied to the upside, right? It's correlation. Just have 3 charts, US 30, US 100, S&P 500. If the first 2 have moved, eventually you know that the last one will also move, rally, because they are all tied to the US market. It's just that some are being driven by stock, tech stock, right? While others are more, traditional company in the US, right? So it's very beautiful to see. As of last week, we're still somewhere around here. The market was bullish, but then we still knew that we had a long space to go. And then on Tuesday, we started streamlining our entries, right? On Tuesday, that was 2 days ago, we stated very clearly, right, on the Zoom call, that's morning section, it was morning section, not afternoon session. We stated that if price, as at then morning session, price candlestick was still dancing around this zone. So a clear-cut signal was given, which was that if for any reason we see price dilly-dallying before New York market open, right, and price still remain at this level, we didn't see any sharp drop, just best believe we're going to tap into this other block, and then we're going to send price to the upside, right? We said that, and because that was the only trade opportunity that was available as at then. US 100 is in a new price discovery, so you don't know if any other block is going to hold or if it's not going to hold, right? Because price is in a new place. There's no reference to the past, so it's difficult for, if you're entering a trade from that level, it can work, it might not work. You don't have that level of certainty and confidence in the market. Let me use confidence. Certainty is a very big word, right? So we now anticipated this move, and then price tapped into this other block, right? Look at those beautiful rally to the upside, right? Good 1:4 kind of trade setup. Above here and then 1:4. Price moved above that, but we can just be drawing this thing as artists. The realistic thing is 1:3, 1:4, and you're out of the market, right? Look at those beautiful push, and this was significant. This is like 400 pips, right? 460 pips actually. And then we still have a long way to go, right? Which is still on the daily time. Look at the daily time frame. We still have all of this to go, right? So if you've not closed your trade, you can still keep holding, because eventually price is going to clear all of this. That is our TP, right? Meaning price clearing all of this double top that's created since beginning of February, right? And also last year, right? December last year and February this year, right? Created double top, and then we expect that price is going to clear it to the upside eventually. So this morning, what is happening this morning? Price, all the movement that's happened yesterday, we are seeing like price coming down a bit. Let's still check. We have some other block around here and also fair value gaps, right? This is a good spot again. I want to see how market is going to react. So this is another good spot. In fact, we have a fair value gap just below it. Okay, we've seen some test of that area, a fair value gap just below it, and then another block that is sitting pretty much well. So one thing I want to do is also wait. If for any reason price stalls, right? It keeps stalling till about say 2:30 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Then we expect that New York market open will give us that bullish rally. And typically what will happen before then is that price is going to test this other block just with a week or just a candlestick, and then it sends it flying to the upside. That's a general, pattern or schematic when it comes to US 30, right? It loves to do that very well. It tests other blocks and fair value gaps. I've said this over and over on this Zoom call, right? US 30 and the rest, US 100, that's Nasdaq and S&P 500. Technical analysis, they love other blocks and fair value gaps. So we can take advantage of that. If for any reason we see this keep stalling, right, till about when New York market is going to open, right, then we should see that tap into this. The same thing that happened yesterday, right, would most likely happen again. And then provided everything is bullish, right, because this is just pure technical analysis. We know when it comes to this kind of market, fundamental drives it very much, right? All of these other block, all of this, the reason why this thing held is because of the sentiment that was really neutral, right? Fundamental was not giving us any dramatic news that could have sent price downwards, right? Because in this market, especially with US 30 now, Trump is the #1 driver. If he cops, I bet you this market is going to feel it, right? If he types or tweets anything irregular, you would see investor enter panic mode immediately, trying to, kind of save their downside, right? So that's one thing to be to put into consideration, right? That's a factor we have to put into consideration, knowing well that this market can still, in a way, sell, because if we watch out for what Trump is saying, if Trump is not saying anything dramatic, then we are good for a buy, right? Because we eventually know that this rally would still continue. It should continue to the upside until we clear those high. All right, we've said a lot about US 30. Let's go to the other pair before we continue. On the daily time frame, we are now in a new zone, price discovery, and it's hard to say this is where price is going to come and buy from or come and sell from. Honestly, it's difficult to predict at this level because you don't have reference, and like they used to say, transformation is hard, right? When there's no reference, what do you know that you're comparing price to? Is there any other block on the left-hand side or right-hand side? Except if you want to just buy with faith, but vibes is not enough in this market. If you buy with vibes, your account can feel the vibe. I might not like the vibes, right? So it's a thing of we waiting to see accurate setup, right? Something is looking very much interesting now as we speak, right? We have like a box pattern being formed here. Wants to see this break to the upside and then a retest, right? Meaning price breaks above here, right? And then we have a form of retesting to this fair value gap to continue, right? But then that's also a stretch. We price, one thing about this kind of markets, once they break new high, they tend not to retrace, right? They tend not to give that adequate retracement before they continue their bullish movement to the upside. So for this, I'll be watching out because this actually was the reason why we could bank on US30 buy, right? Because it has broken its own old high and then has printed a new high, and we're expecting the same thing for US30, and that has happened, or that is currently still happening. We're still in that trade, right? For those of us that didn't close out yesterday, I believe we should still be in massive profit. And then if you know you're still in the position, what you can do is just break even. That's I believe it's a natural thing for everybody that took that trade and you're still holding. I believe that's one thing you should do: break even, and or you close 80% of your position, allow the remaining 20 to run till we get to the overall take profit. Right. So this is what I'm looking at for in this market this morning. I'm watching out for it actively. I'm not willing to, in terms of actual trading, engage this market this morning because it's looking there's no reference for me, right? But then with this analysis I've made, I'll be watching it. One thing I do, like I used to tell all of us, is having the charts side by side, right? US30, US100, S&P 500, so that you can compare and contrast which one would move and which one you want to put your money in, right? As at last 2 weeks, we did something here, which was that we bought a basket of them all, right? We bought US30, bought NAS100 and S&P 500, and it ended in profits, right? But for now, the specific thing we're looking for is currently in play, right? Which is the US30 play. So it might be dicey trying to buy this market this morning. It can still go all the way up. It should typically, right? There's nothing stopping it. But then there's no reference point for you to even enter, except you want to do break and retest, support and resistance, and then you follow it to the upside. But you don't want to be in a trade where your heart is in the trade too. You are checking the chart every minute, every second. All right. Let's move to S&P 500. And I believe with that, we'll call it a wrap for this commodity session. And my colleague will also be coming for the second part of the market color, right? Which is the commodity session. All right. S&P 500 on the daily is looking very interesting. Wow. I hope Nigerian economy rises like this. Okay. So we've seen a break above all of this, right? Which also is indicative of the fact that using correlation, look at it, it's a simple math. Using correlation, US100 is bullish, US30 not bullish now. US100 has broken its all-time high before, right? S&P 500 has done the same. What do you expect for US30? It should do what? Do the same, followed suit. Sometimes US30 used to have squint. Apologies for international audience. Squintiness means a bit of, craziness, right? So if this remains the same, I mean, by US30, US100 being in a new price discovery and S&P 500 also in a new price discovery, we should typically see the same with US30, meaning even our take profits might just be just a conservative one, right? Because it has ability to push beyond those levels, right? So on the daily time frame, we're saying that we are broken above our old, what's it called, high. And this is for those that trade the US stock market. If you're not on the stock market, I believe you should find yourself there, right? It's a very good play. If you check things like Tesla, things like stocks like Google, right? I think that's Alphabet. Yeah. You would see that they've also pushed to the upside, right? You've seen push Palantir and the rest, they've pushed to the upside. And that's why you're seeing the rally across board on US100, right? If you're a trader into the FX market and alone, I think you're changing yourself. You should also look at other markets, right? Like the US market is going to give you idea on why and how you should trade certain pair, right? And it's also going to help your portfolio generally, right? Going to help your portfolio, right? That's just a side talk. All right, on the daily time frame, we've broken our eye, and let me look at the 4-hour time frame. The 4-hour time frame also prices, price tested it, but then continues to move to the upside. So it's in a new price discovery. Let's just go to 1 hour if there's anything interesting there that might. In fact, there's no price is not even retesting zones. Price is refusing to retest zones here, and it's quite sad. But then let's look at this. I'm saying something here. If for any reason, for those that are insistent on trading S&P 500, this is a fair value gap here. This is a fair value gap. We have a sweep, a break to the upside, then this fair value gap. Price might want to retest this fair value gap. And from there, we'll continue to rally to the upside. This is just one possibility. Honestly speaking, with what I'm seeing here, if price does not start selling before 2:30, most likely we'll just see a continuation. The rally will just continue, right? And that's a very funny place to be, because you just know that this market is going to buy, but then how to enter the market might be a bit difficult, right? So this is what I'm seeing on US, that's S&P 500 and this morning, right? And it's quite interesting to know. For those that own S&P 500 stock, that's Vanguard VOO, right? You should be up. Your portfolio should be up, right? Regardless of where you bought. If you bought at the start of the year, you know it dipped and then now it's back up. So you should really, really be up, right? And that's why it's good to have these stocks in your game plan, overall general portfolio, not just traditional kind of trading stuff, right? And then it returns a very good percent, right? Year on year, it has been able to do about 9 to 10% annually. Though in Nigeria, we see that as very small. We don't appreciate those kind of numbers, right? But then it is what it is. International standard, those are good numbers. By the time you compound, you add compounding interest to that for 30 years, you will be blown away by the possibility that can achieve just even on ₦1 million or 10 million naira, all right? Compounding over 30 years with 10% annual return. Let's leave those maths to just make you start thinking. All right. Joseph Victor is asking, please, where do you advise one can buy stocks from? Okay, there are many apps out there. It has been easy. If you're not from the US, just know it's already 1-0, right? So you're buying from the secondary market, right? So you can use apps like Bamboo, Chaka, what's the name of this other one? The other fintech app, right? That's for international stock. When it comes to Nigerian stock, you use Cardinal Stone, right? There's Cardinal Stone. Yes, still Bamboo. Bamboo still allows you to buy from local stock too. And then just Google it. But I personally, Cardinal Stone and Bamboo, that's what I use, right? For my own portfolio, right? Arinze is saying Bamboo Finance work local, international. Beautiful, right? I know Cardinal Stone is more local than international. But Bamboo work for both AfriVest also. AfriVest, there are many. You can just look at them and then but I use Bamboo, so I'm not recommending them, but I use them, right? So you can use that to also position yourself. It's not just intraday. This kind of position, this kind of stuff. When you do analysis on higher time frame, you can come back to your to your stock portfolio and then buy. You are holding for years. You are just doing, you're DCAing, right? And so you're DCA into position, checking, okay, once price comes to this level, you buy more, add more, instead of just doing in and out, right? But then that's a whole separate conversation altogether. For this morning, once again, we're looking at this to come to this level, and then from there, we can continue the bullish movement to the upside. I believe this has been helpful so far. It's a good place to ask our question this morning. Do we have any question? Was this session helpful? Let me know in the comment section. Do you have any question whatsoever? about the S&P 500 market, US 100 market, and also US 30. If you have any question, let me know so that we can run through them immediately before my colleague comes. Okay, why is NFP today and not tomorrow? I believe tomorrow we have bank holiday, right? So usually for that reason, that should be the reason. There's US bank holiday tomorrow, right? As you can see, there's US bank holiday tomorrow. So just shifted it to a day before. I hope this is clear. Pips don't lie. Do we have any entry on these commodities? Which of the commodities? Because we've not done, which of the commodities? Not done any commodity setup yet. All this one we talk about. What instrument do we trade on NFP? Wow. Okay, I mean, those questions are really interesting. You can trade anything on the US pair, right? AUD, USD, GBP, USD, NS, USD, NZD, anything USD related, right? Okay, this morning, these are the entries we have. Somebody is drawing on the screen, please. We shouldn't do that. It's going to disorganize what we have. Okay, these are the entries we have this morning. Meaning price comes down here to buy, and on S&P 500 and on US 30, we're expecting that price continue if the range continues, right? Meaning price keeps stalling before 230 and then comes into this zone, we'll see that push the upside again. All right, that being said, we'll be going to the second part of this session where my colleague will be looking at the markets and then giving us updates on what we've said so far, how the other side of the commodity market is doing, right? The AUD USD and NZD USD. All right, thank you so much for joining this morning.
Welcome back to the second half of today's market color session. That was a very detailed analysis by Demola. So this second half is covered a lot already, which I believe would take much advantage of. So we're just going to quickly look at these other asset classes and call it a wrap, right? There's not much really going on these particular asset classes. We already have our bias on the dollar. We're still seeing more weakness going into the DXY. Having that in mind, our perspective on AU, NU, and USD CAD has not really changed since the last analysis that we did on Tuesday, right? Okay, so I'm just going to do a quick breakdown using the all-weather strategy. You don't have the indicators, that is fine. Simply take note of price points, price levels, and add your own extra analysis to it and take advantage of what it is we're going to be looking at today. So AUD USD has been buying, and I still see more buys for this asset class. I still see it going up a bit higher. Right now, what I'm waiting for is just to see more retracement Remember, we marked out 13 level points on Tuesday where we're expecting price to retrace into and continue to buy. You saw the retracement and price has bought now. So I'm still saying that my bias on this is still to the upside. I'm still expecting price to retrace a bit lower, give me more good entries, and we're going to be taking more buys of this asset class from where price bought up to where it started to retrace from. It did over 40 pips. This is AU. That's enough, a lot for an asset class like AUD USD, right? So right now, I still want to see more retracement into what zones. I want to see price coming here, although it looks like price already came close. Regardless, if there was a confirmation here, we'll see if there's a position we can enter. If not, I also want to see price either retrace into this zone or into this zone. So 3 price points that I'm marking out as POIs, 0.65604. Remember, these are more of zones than specific price numbers. So just mark that out. I'm going to use the rectangle shape. Ideally, this is what I should be using on H1, but because we're going to draw more zones on the M5, I don't want you to get confused because we have quite a number of indicators on the chart already. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete that. This is a price point we're looking at somewhere around here, and this is another price point, and this is the third price point on the H1 time frame. Having that in mind, we're now going down to M5 to mark out even more POIs specifically for this session moving into the next, to see if there are opportunities for us to make some money off this market. So there are 4 things we basically do on this time frame, and that is to mark out yesterday's high, yesterday's low. These are basically support and resistance levels that we are looking at. Day before yesterday's low marked out right here, and day before yesterday's high as well. Okay, so this is what we're now looking out for. We want to see price. If price is going to hold where it currently is, because price has now broken above and come back to retest our pullback zone. This is a pullback that basically attracts price to itself. If we're going to see any confirmation, we could buy AUD USD from here and take profit around here, but that is not enough, except I decide to go the scalping route. But since this is a general analysis, it would be preferable if we take trades and target very high numbers first, before we now start to place those trades actively. Yes, it's an indicator strategy. Just take note of the price points. So we've marked out the 4 zones, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? We're saying that if price retraces back in here, this holds, we want to see a confirmation to take the buy. You're not looking at candlesticks in this strategy. We're looking at the flow of the indicators collectively, right? Except that we now want to look for specific entries before we zoom in. So you've not gone to the point where we're zooming in, we're still looking at the zoomed out view. I hope that's clear. Zooming out, why? Because we want to be able to mark out the high and the low of yesterday, right? If we zoom in, you're not going to be able to see them so clearly. I hope that makes sense, Mr. Let me see, Mr. Ebikeme Vincent. So that's the main reason why we're zooming out. Right, so price has now done this. This is where ideally my stop loss would be if I was taking a buy of AUD USD. I would want to put my stop loss below this level so that it now serves as my protected low. But this is quite a lot. Quite a lot. From here to here is, okay, not that much, 35 pips thereabouts. So stop loss being 35 pips, and I'm saying that I still see more buys of AUD USD. If I'm going to see more buys, where do I think it's going to buy into? I'm going to have to zoom out again so we can see the price, the past price action. So I'm looking at price buying all the way back in here into the next resistance point, and that is 0.66757. Please take note of that price point, right? I know we don't have all have the indicators. I understand that, that's fine. This is an indicator that our students of the Forex Bootcamp course have access to, but it is not accessible by everyone. So if you don't have indicators, please don't allow it to confuse you. Just pay attention to the price points. So I'm looking at price buying back all in here, all the way up there. So if I'm looking at price still buying there, and my stop loss is somewhere around 35 to 40 pips, that is or looks like a good enough entry for me to buy this particular asset class. So can you enter the buy now? For me, right now, I would prefer to wait. Today is NFP, right? NFP comes out by 1:30 p.m., I believe. So because of the news release, I try to not really trade on days where we have such high impact news release, but this is looking like a good enough buy. We're going to have a bit of a struggle here because there is a resistance point at this level. Let me go on M1 and see if there is a confirmation to take this particular trade. On the M1 time frame, just hold while it loads up. It's taking a bit of time. Perfect. So for me to enter this buy, this would have been a sweet enough zone right here because I'd have caught this early on. But if I want to jump into a buy of AUD USD now, I'll prefer to see a clear break and a retest above this zone. I want to see price do this and a retest back into the indicator level. So break and a retest of this zone, that is 0.65785. When price comes and does this, then I could take a buy, bearing in mind that there's going to be a bit of a tussle just around the corner. But if price is able to break through the zone, then we know where it is headed. It's just going to keep buying the targets where we expect price to trade into on the H4 time frame. I hope that's clear, sir. Mr. Isaac. Is that clear? While Mr. Isaac is typing, let us look at NZD USD on the H4. So price has been buying. We spoke about expecting a retracement. Price retraced a bit and it has not really done much on this asset class. Zooming in so you can see the candlesticks. Price has not really bought that much yet. It's retraced, did this, and looks like it's coming down. Regardless, I'm still expecting price to still retrace further. I would prefer to buy low at every point in time, just so that I am not catching crumbs. If I'm buying high, the majority of the move has already gone and left me. So I prefer price to give me a low entry if I'm buying or a high entry if I'm selling. So my POIs on H1, I'll go ahead and mark out my POIs on the H1 time frame. POI 1, POI 2. Okay. And then point of interest 3 is all the way inside the third indicator. So these are the levels you should be looking at, waiting for price to see, are you going to come back down there? Now, for our first point of interest, there's been a violation, a break back above and looking like a retest. So is this zone going to hold? Only one way to find out, go on the M5 time frame. On M5 time frame, zoom out a bit so I have the bigger picture and mark out those 4 price points that I need to mark out. That is day before yesterday's high, day before yesterday's low, which happens to be very close to our POI on the H1. But are you seeing the movement of the indicators? They don't seem to be breaking above. It's still looking downward-ish. I'm going to explain what I mean by that. So price has now come to retrace this, but it has not given us a break and a retest of the indicators to the upside. For those of us who are FXB students, you know that before we take certain trades, we want to see a break and a retest of the Keltner channel, which is this staircase-like structure, and our indicator as well to the upside. So when I see a clearer break and a retest above, then I could be looking to take entries because price has now retested one of our points of interest on the H1 and even the M5 time frame. But if I do not see those confirmations, then I'm just going to keep waiting. So for AU and NZD USD a bit more clearer, looking like price is going to respect the zone on the M1 time frame. Same thing, price broke, came back, retested, but it has not broken above. So when I see a break above and a retest of this zone in sync with the indicator, I'll take a buy of NZD USD. But still bearing in mind that today is a news release. So even if we want to take this particular bias, we may want to reduce our risk so that regardless of the outcome, we are good, right? Okay, for USD CAD now, our bias on this has been to the downside since I believe last week, but you can see it's still selling. USD CAD sold a bit down, right? Our point of interest, which we marked out last time, is still on the chart at 1.36632. Look at how beautifully that was kissed and it sold. How many pips did that do from that point of interest down here? It has done over 80 pips. I believe one of us at least caught this trade. If you did, let me know in the chat box. So point of interest, first one has been respected. It has sold below. I still think there's going to be a bit more downward movement for USD CAD. Where is it going to sell into? Most likely come all the way down here, our next support level. So are we going to see retracement of USD CAD from where it is back here and then drops into the zone? Very likely. On M5, zoom out again just so you can see the 3 days worth of data. Mark out day before yesterday's high is in confluence with our point of interest on the H1 time frame. Mark out day before yesterday's low, yesterday's high, and yesterday's low. Perfect. So these are now zones that we're looking out for. Remember, we said we're still looking at more sales of USD CAD. What price is looking at now? We're seeing a temporal buy. Now, because of the number of times I've used this indicator, I will be comfortable taking a buy of USD CAD from here, but that will be against the trend, and I'm only going to be comfortable doing that because this is what I predominantly trade. But for those of us who are sticking to trend following trades, we would want to wait for price to buy back somewhere into this zone, because this also serves as a resistance sometimes. You could also see on the left-hand side, we have the previous support that could act as current resistance in future. So pay attention to this zone as well. This is an extra point of interest, 1.36273. And if this zone is not respected, we're now expecting price to trade back into these other points of interest, give us confirmation, and then we're going to continue to sell USD CAD. So my bias on AU, NU are still to the upside and USD CAD to the downside, except fundamentals come and play a different game on the dollar. And if you see a different game on the dollar, that would eventually affect these asset classes and most likely change the perspective. And that's why I stated that I'll prefer for the news release to come out first and the markets to digest the news release before I take, more positions, because today it is not a game of technicals or even the all-weather strategy, which is indicator-based. We're looking at fundamentals predominantly. So what news releases do we have coming out today? I believe my colleague may have touched on it. Today is a Thursday. We have, looking at the dollar-related news release, we have non-farm employment change, average hourly earnings, unemployment rate, ISM services PMI. These are all high impact. If you want to understand what these different news releases calculate, simply click on this document icon. You would see what it measures. So for NFP, I think I saw a question, what does NFP measure or how does it impact the market? It basically measures the change in the number of employed people during the previous month, right? So if we see, like today we're expecting it, or forecasted, it's been forecasted to come out at 11K. If it comes out greater than expected, and you see a greater number than this comes out, then it is good for the dollar. We may see more strength go into the dollar. But if it comes out lower than expected, we may see continuous pulling down of the DXY, right? So if this comes out higher than expected and we see strength go into the DXY, then we may see AU and NU continue to sell lower. Remember, correlations of these asset classes. But if reverse is the case, then we know what we're going to be seeing on the asset classes. I hope the person who asked that question is still online to get the answer. How does the NFP affect the markets? This is it, sir. This is basically it. So you can come to this platform after the market color session and just pay attention to it to read through and see how these different news releases we have coming out later on would affect the market. But primarily for NFP, this is what it does. So pay attention to the actual, what comes out. Is it higher than expected? If it is, we may see more strength. If it is not, we may see continuous weakness of this asset class. So that is pretty much it. I believe I saw a question. You're welcome, sir. Mr. Isaac said, please, can you analyze gold? So, sir, we have different days for when we look at different asset classes. My voice is kind of raspy this morning. So I have different days when we look at different asset classes. Tomorrow, we're going to be paying more attention to gold, but for today, it is commodity currencies and indices, which my colleague already looked at. So please do well to tune in tomorrow by 8:30 a.m. and have even more detailed analysis on that asset class. But sir, we've looked at a lot of asset classes. I'm sure you must have picked one or two. Or are you already in a trade on gold? You're looking to see if the analysis will back your own bias. Maybe that is the case. Okay, so without taking too much more of our time, we're going to be reconvening by 2:30 p.m. for the market color, by 2 p.m. for the market color recap to see what has happened, our analysis as it played out, as it not. So please do well to tune in. Also, quick reminder, our event is coming up in Abuja. So if you're based in the city of Abuja, please do well to sign up and attend the event. It's going to be very inspiring, not motivational, inspire to acquire. It is going to actually be educational. So do well to tell somebody to come and attend that event and gain knowledge, not just from me, We have our CEO as well, other colleagues, and even those you don't usually see physically here. You're going to see the pillars of the VFT Academy. All right. Okay. So thank you so much for joining once again. Cheers. God bless. Have an amazing trading day. Trade carefully. We have a couple of high impact news. Don't rush in so you don't get rushed out. Cheers and God bless. Bye.